What is up? What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing? Got brother. That's my brother right there, my Filipino brother. He is always working and doing something. I don't know what the heck is he doing. He always doing something. Check this out, man. Oh, wait a minute. My bad, y'all. I wanted to play this. I haven't played this one in a minute, man. This is my joint right here. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell. The album is dropping. The album has already dropped. Go get it. Go get the album, baby.
See, I don't pray for what you think I would. Not for money. Not for cars. Not even for my own hood. I just close my eyes and I pray. I pray that Sunday don't stay the most fake day of the week. That we live what we preach when we rise to our feet. I pray one day we don't see color in the face. Only one race, one love, the human race. I pray for peace, not power. For unity that don't fold in the dark hour. I pray for the child with no voice, no meal. That one day he eats and knows how love feels. I pray success finds the ones that grind quiet. Who didn't sell a soul just to go viral. I pray we remember His grace when we fall. That God still answers when we don't call. I pray for you, yeah. You're scrolling on your phone, feeling broken, feeling left all alone. I pray your health stays strong, your path stays clear, and blessings fall on you like tears. But I want you to notice what I don't say in these lines. I never pray for money, and I never pray for myself. I never even pray for the ones closest to me. Not cause I don't love them, but because good love don't bend. It believes faithfully. Just some things I pray for. I pray for the mothers with tears in their eyes, holding it down but dying inside. I pray for the father who left too soon and the child he made trying to fill that room. I pray for the teacher who's spinning their own, trying to give hope cause the system is blown. I pray for the ones who got talent but no light, for the ones that write verses just to make it through the night. I pray we break generational chains, stop passing down drama like it's part of our name. I pray our hearts don't stay numb from the pain, and one day we dance in the middle of the rain. I pray for the silence behind fake smiles, for the strong ones breaking after holding it a while. I pray for the ones that feel too far gone, that God still reaching when the devil gets strong. I pray for the kids locked up in the system, no love, no hugs, just the world that miss them. And I pray for the soldier with scars on his mind, he made it back home but left peace behind. I pray for the ones who scream but ain't heard, who feel invisible when they speak a word. I pray you feel seen, I pray you feel true. I pray that these words can help you. But what I mostly pray for is you.
You know the funniest thing, man, that no matter what you do, you got a song that's called I Pray. I pray for you. I pray for the kids. I pray for the moms and the pops and everything. And somebody in the comment section that had to try to twist it around and say, you pray on. Change one word. Like I'm praying on them. Like I'm trying to do something negative to people. Really? That's what you got out the song? I did all that to let you know I'm trying to prey on people. Really? Really? That's the best you can do. That's the talent you have. That's the best you can come up with. What make it so bad? It just sounds stupid. I pray for all people out there and all these I pray for that person that left that comment. Yeah. I want to be like Jesus, man. For some reason, he ain't had no negativity toward people, even his enemies. He prayed for them too, man. That's what I want to do. If you hating on Uncle Mike, that is your problem. I pray for you. But anyway, check this out, man. I wanted to play that song, man. The album is dropped. Y'all support a brother. It's up to y'all now, man. Y'all want to see change in this world? Let me know. I need some support to make some changes. Now, I think I can make some changes. Now, ain't gonna be no big changes. I ain't trying to build no school. Dr. Umar, Lord have mercy. How the hell? One person doing everything. He in a car doing reactions. I mean, doing presentations with his cell phone. I'm in the car. Hey, y'all need... And the cars don't even look fancy. And then you talking about... Get back to the subject. My bad, y'all. That's my bad. At 48, Jaleel White finally speaks silence on Malcolm Jamal Warner's last words. Rest in peace, man. I cannot believe this. Angie Stones, I couldn't believe she was gone. Now, I keep pinching myself, man. I cannot believe that the one son in the Cosby show is gone. I still can't believe it, man. I was on the plane thinking, I can't believe he gone, man. You know, when you flying in the air, man, you think about all kinds of stuff, man. I pray the Lord. I pray that I'm a child actor that my mother even let me go. Here we go. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, man. Let's check this out. I'm a child actor that my mother even let me go out with late at night past 11 p.m. and had a very...
That wasn't just a teenage memory. It was the beginning of a silent friendship that lasted over 3 decades between two black icons shaped by American television of the 1980s. And it was that very friendship that left the deepest scar in Jaleel's heart on the fateful night when he received a short voice message from Malcolm Jamal Warner in the middle of the night, and just hours later, the world learned he was gone forever. At the age of 48, after years of choosing silence, Jaleel finally spoke up. But what he revealed wasn't just a final goodbye. It was a haunting truth about black artists who were once celebrated, but were never allowed to fall. What did Malcolm leave behind in that voice note? And why did Jaleel declare, "I won't let them forget who he was"? The story behind that farewell will leave you speechless. Don't look away. Follow the channel so you don't miss the most important part. The invisible thread that bound two fates. They never stood on the same stage, never appeared together in a red carpet photo. No sitcom tied their names together in viewers' memory. But between Jaleel White and Malcolm Jamal Warner, there was always an invisible thread. A quiet bond only those who grew up under stage lights from their teenage years could understand. This story isn't just about two actors. It's about two black boys who once carried the hopes of America on their shoulders, and then spent their entire adulthood learning how to unload that burden. Jaleel was born in 1976, Malcolm 6 years earlier, in the summer of 1970. Both entered the industry at a young age, but it wasn't until the 1980s that their lives took a dazzling and binding turn. In 1984, Malcolm became Theo Huxtable in The Cosby Show, the funny, clever son who constantly made small mistakes in a model middle-class black family. At just 14, Malcolm appeared in over 200 episodes across 8 seasons, becoming a part of American TV iconography. Meanwhile, 12-year-old Jaleel White unexpectedly caught the eye of the Family Matters producers. Originally meant to be a one-time guest, his portrayal of the clumsy, thick-glassed, high-pitched, kind-hearted Steve Urkel struck such a chord with viewers that he became the show's centerpiece. Urkel quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Within a single season, Jaleel's face appeared on everything from t-shirts to toys. In 1991, Family Matters cracked the top 10 highest-rated TV shows in America, and Urkel was the reason. But that success came with a cost. By the time Jaleel turned 20, the shadow of Urkel had fused with his identity. He pursued more mature roles, but most directors could only see the kid with the suspenders and squeaky voice. In a later interview, he said bitterly, "I wasn't allowed to grow up in the eyes of the audience. They wanted me to stay Urkel forever." Malcolm understood that deeply. After The Cosby Show ended in 1992, he intentionally distanced himself from sitcom roles, turning to directing spoken word poetry and even jazz music. Though he earned a Grammy nomination and found success in supporting roles in Sons of Anarchy Read. Between the lines, among others, every time he was introduced, it was always Malcolm Jamal Warner, Theo from The Cosby Show. A name, a memory, a chain. "I used to wonder, when will people stop looking at me through the lens of their own nostalgia?" Malcolm wrote in a journal found after his death. Through all those years between the two of them was a strange kind of connection that required no public light. No joint interviews, no game shows. Just long phone calls late at night when the applause had faded and the emptiness started to creep in. No explanations needed. They both knew the feeling. The feeling of not being allowed to be yourself. The feeling of walking into an audition and seeing the director's eyes twitch, not because you weren't good enough, but because you were someone else in the public imagination. Jaleel once said, "There were moments I wanted to quit to disappear from Hollywood entirely. But Malcolm called me, said just one thing. We weren't made to be Urkel and Theo forever, but we were born to keep standing." That wasn't a philosophy. It was a lifeline. Because in the world of American television, where black artists are rarely allowed nuanced characters, let alone the chance to outgrow a successful persona, staying upright is already a form of victory. They never made their friendship public, maybe out of fear of being labeled distorted, or simply because both had grown used to keeping things private, but their actions spoke clearly. When Jaleel faced repeated rejections in the 2000s, Malcolm was the first to call. When Malcolm had his jazz tour canceled in LA in 2014, Jaleel showed up quietly in the front row. No tweets, no humble brags, just two brothers who had weathered the same storm and knew how to keep each other afloat. As they aged, they realized Hollywood never really cared about the personal growth of black artists. It loved you when you made audiences laugh. But if you started questioning your roles, pushing back on stereotypes, or simply wanted to evolve, it pushed you to the margins. Malcolm once said, "This industry raised me, but it never truly loved me." That line silenced Jaleel. Maybe that's why Malcolm's sudden passing at 54 didn't just make Jaleel grieve, it made something crack inside him. He didn't get to say goodbye, didn't return the last missed call, didn't get to tell his brother, "We made it," whether they saw it or not. And when he opened Malcolm's final voice note, "If I don't make it to tomorrow, don't cry, just carry me in your work," Jaleel understood that some legacies aren't written in film credits or trophies. They are etched in humanity, in understanding, in being understood. They were Urkel and Theo, but they were not just that. They were two souls once beloved, then forgotten by America. Once hailed as icons, never asked if they wanted to bear that title forever. They were two boys who made audiences laugh and had to learn how to cry in silence. And they survived, not just by fame, but by friendship, by late-night calls with no script, no applause, just truth, by a shared vow, even if they had to leave, they would be remembered as whole men, not the shadows of characters who once lit up a screen. When someone chooses to leave in silence, there are deaths that sound no alarm, no cries for help, no farewell letters, no words of blame. Only a soul once familiar with the light, quietly receding into the shadows, leaving a lingering question for those left behind. Did anyone truly see them leaving? At 54, Malcolm Jamal Warner was still seen as an artist in his prime. He never stopped evolving from actor to director, from spoken word poet to jazz bassist, even earning a Grammy in 2015. No one thought that man was drifting away from shore. No one, except one person, Jaleel White. Late-night phone calls between Jaleel and Malcolm were nothing new. It was the quiet thread connecting them after decades growing up in the shadow of two TV characters, Theo and Urkel. But one call, just 3 weeks before Malcolm passed, haunted Jaleel every time he remembered it. Malcolm didn't complain, but there was something different in his voice. A kind of weariness, not of a man overwhelmed, but of one tidying up. He said, "It's not about fame anymore, Jay. It's legacy. But who's going to tell my story?" Jaleel went silent. At the time, he thought Malcolm was simply struggling with some underappreciated creative project. But later, he realized that wasn't a career question. It was a farewell draft, spoken low, slow, and sad, like a jazz phrase breaking rhythm. Close friends of Malcolm also sensed something. In those final weeks, he canceled 2 performances in Atlanta. A podcast interview he'd scheduled early in the year was abruptly dropped with no explanation. On social media, Malcolm remained present, but through cryptic poems heavy in reflection, seemingly drifting toward an endpoint. Then came a night in Brooklyn, at a private gathering of black artists. Malcolm performed a spoken word piece, considered his last public reading. One line stayed with everyone: "I leave my footprints on water, so no one can keep them, but still know I was there." A beautiful verse. But seen in the light of what happened weeks later, it turned chilling. Footprints on water cannot be held. They don't last long enough to imprint on memory. And because of that, they carry a warning that someone may be choosing to disappear quietly like a final breath. Malcolm once told friends the ocean was the only place that never asked him to be anyone. He would walk for hours along the waves, no phone, no schedule. Water makes me feel invisible, and because of that, safe. Those words would haunt many when they learned the ocean was where he drew his final breath. On the morning of July 20th, 2025, news out of Limon, Costa Rica stunned Hollywood. Malcolm Jamal Warner, the star who had helped define the childhood of millions, had drowned in what authorities called a sudden and unusual accident. No drugs, no underlying condition, no warning. But for Jaleel White, it wasn't sudden at all. He knew, not with logic, but with the kind of instinct only shared solitude can sharpen. And then hours after the news, when he opened his phone, Jaleel found a voice note he hadn't listened to, sent by Malcolm, just a few hours before he went out to sea. When he pressed play, Jaleel later recalled, "I didn't see it right away. It was buried under hundreds of notifications. When I heard the second line, I dropped the phone." The voice note was under a minute long. But in those 52 seconds, Malcolm said something that shattered Jaleel completely. "Jay, this world is loud and rushed, but in silence we find truth. If I don't make it to tomorrow, just know, the ocean gave me peace. Don't cry for me, bro. Carry me in your work." No one else heard that message, except for a few close loved ones Jaleel invited to his home after the funeral. In a dark room, no music, no stage lights. He played the recording just once. One guest said afterward, "No one sobbed, but everyone cried, because we knew that was the final goodbye, and it was written in stillness." Jaleel never shared that voice note with the public. He called it sacred. He didn't post a single line online, didn't make a podcast about it, because to him it wasn't content. It was a charge, a final will, with no signature, no attorney. And so, the questions began. Was Malcolm quietly depressed? Was this a planned farewell? Did he choose the ocean as the place to stop? Because it was the only place he felt peace. Jaleel never answered any of them. He said only once in a later interview, "I don't think he wanted pity. I think he wanted to be understood." That was the difference. Malcolm wasn't seeking sorrow. He was seeking someone close enough to hear, to understand, and to continue the story he hadn't finished. Not the story of Theo Huxtable, but of an artist who learned how to live in loneliness and left with peace in his heart. Jaleel understood that, and he promised to honor it through his own work, through his own silence, by making sure the world never forgets someone once left their footprints on water. And sometimes, that is the clearest way to say goodbye. The candle in a dark room. No cameras, no live stream, no viral memorial hashtag rippling across social media. That ceremony wasn't for the audience. It was for Malcolm. Truly. That's a small room in Los Angeles. The only light came from candles placed around a never-before-seen photo. Malcolm wasn't smiling, wasn't posing, just looking sideways out the window holding an unfinished pen. On the chair next to the podium, someone had placed the black fedora he often wore during poetry readings. The chair was empty, but no one dared to sit, because everyone understood that seat belonged to someone still present in a story yet to be finished. When Jaleel White stepped forward, there was no MC to introduce him. No one needed to know who he was. No one needed reminding he used to be Steve Urkel, because in that moment, he was no longer a character, a pop culture symbol, or a familiar face on television. He was a friend trying to say something final to someone he hadn't been able to say goodbye to. His voice was only a whisper at first. "This isn't just about Malcolm," he said, eyes fixed on the empty chair. "This is about everything we've done wrong to people like him." The room went completely silent. People thought Jaleel would tell funny stories, recall days on set, or share beautiful memories. But no, he hadn't come to comfort. He came to confront, to expose a truth he himself had ignored for many years, that black artists are never allowed to be tired. We, the black kids who grew up on television, were taught to hold ourselves together, to be polite, to be grateful, to be strong in front of the camera. And when the lights go off, to smile just a little more, because the audience might not come back if they saw us weak. Jaleel said, his voice beginning to break. Malcolm had once called him at 2 a.m. Not to complain, not to ask for anything, just to breathe. "I can't hold it together anymore, Jay," he said. "I don't know if anyone still sees me or if they only see Theo." At the time, Jaleel had simply said, "Go to sleep, tomorrow will be better." Now he's no longer sure that was the right thing. Because maybe Malcolm didn't need soothing. Maybe he needed someone who would truly listen, truly understand. Not as a fellow actor, but as a person. "I wish I hadn't been so quick to believe he was okay," Jaleel said, unable to hold back tears. "I wish I had told him he didn't have to always be the symbol." Then he looked at the hat as if asking the departed whether he was listening. "Malcolm once told me, if one day I disappear, tell them I'm not angry, I'm just tired." That sentence landed in the room like a final poem closing a book that never got printed. Everyone knew Malcolm wasn't the type to complain. He endured as if it were a natural part of the job, or more accurately, a part of the symbolic duty black men are so often forced to carry. One attendee later said, "We didn't hear a eulogy, we witnessed a confession." And that's exactly what it was. Jaleel didn't come to represent, he came to apologize. Not just for himself, but for an entire industry that once built up black TV legends and then trapped them forever in that golden cage. He didn't shout slogans, didn't talk about the need for change, didn't say we must learn from this loss. There was only one act. He walked to the empty chair, gently placed the hat upon it, bowed his head and whispered, "You weren't just Theo Malcolm. You were my brother, and I won't let them forget who you were." That moment, there were no cameras to capture it, but someone in the room had turned on their phone to record. The audio leaked online just a few hours later, and when people heard Jaleel whisper in the candlelit room, he wasn't angry, he was just tired. All of Hollywood paused. One comment on TikTok said that wasn't a memorial, that was a torch being passed. And that's exactly what it was. From that moment on, no one could speak of Malcolm Jamal Warner and still just call him Little Theo Huxtable. They began calling him a poet, a keeper of words, the one who said, "Don't cry for me, carry me in your work," and made that sentence live on. And the one now carrying that flame forward is Jaleel White. Not through scandal, not through a new movie, but through silence, just as Malcolm had once chosen to leave. The Diary of Malcolm Jamal Warner. After the funeral, when Malcolm Jamal Warner's house was left with only sighs and vacant stares, his family began sorting through his keepsakes. No one thought they would find anything special. A few unfinished jazz compositions, some old scripts, backstage photos from the days of the Cosby Show. But then, tucked deep inside a frayed leather bag, they came across something entirely unexpected. A thick, handwritten old journal with no title. It wasn't a literary manuscript, not a poetry collection, nor a travel diary. It was a whisper, stretching over many years, from a man bound his whole life to a role that had ended 3 decades ago. The first page, dated 2017, opened with an image that made everyone shiver. "I feel like I'm screaming underwater, smiling at all the people watching from the shore while I slowly run out of air." Not poetic, not melodramatic. It was the honest voice of someone who had lived under expectation for so long, he no longer knew whether his emotions were real. Malcolm didn't write regularly, but the entries showed a long-running sentiment, a fatigue that didn't come from physical labor, but from wrestling with the public image the world had already chosen for him. "I'm not Theo anymore. I haven't been him for decades. But to the world, I'll never be anyone else." That feeling didn't just imprison him within the entertainment industry. It seeped into everyday life, when he walked into a diner, a meeting room, or simply down the street. "When I walk into a room, people don't see me. They see nostalgia. They see their own memories of childhood television. They don't see me today, and they never ask how I'm feeling." The next pages revealed something even those close to Malcolm had never known. For years, he lived with the sense of being invisible. Though still active in the arts and respected by the creative community inside him, remained an unanswered question. If I'm no longer Theo, am I still worth remembering? Toward the end of the journal, the tone began to shift. Malcolm was no longer simply recording feelings, but starting to look for ways to release them. He shared that he had started going to therapy, that he wanted to say things he had never had the chance to express publicly, And notably, he expressed a serious intention to develop a television project, format unclear, aimed at exploring mental health in black men. I want to create a series about people like me, people once loved for making others laugh, but never allowed to show pain. I want to show that healing isn't always orderly, and that silence isn't strength. The project was never announced, no formal treatment, no sponsorship proposals. Everything remained in a few scattered handwritten outlines throughout the journal, as if Malcolm was still searching for the right language to begin a conversation he had long held back. The journal ended abruptly. No, the end. No conclusion. No clear goodbye. At the very bottom, there was only a short misaligned line as if hastily added, "If this ends, promise me one thing. Someone will read it and finally see me." Now that promise is being fulfilled. Malcolm's family and closest friends are working together to edit and release part of what he left behind. Not to romanticize the pain, but to bring Malcolm out of the shadow of the very memory the public once used to trap him, and to let his voice, raw, real, unscripted, reach those who may be smiling, while slowly suffocating in silence. Not everyone got to hear Malcolm's voice one last time, but now through these pages never meant to be made public, the world is beginning to listen to him for the first time, as the person he always hoped to be seen as. Not Theo, but Malcolm, a voice beyond time. Malcolm didn't pass away in the middle of a media scandal, nor under the blazing lights of controversy, but in a silence almost too hard to believe. A drowning accident, a rip current that swept away a man who had been searching for peace. But that death did not end the story. It had only just begun. A few days after the sad news, something strange happened. All of Hollywood seemed to pause. Those who had worked with Malcolm, those who had grown up watching him on TV, began to speak, not with scripted eulogies, but with genuine emotion, regret awakening, and even shame. Had we failed to see a person and only seen a symbol? Had the shadow of the Huxtable kid swallowed the soul behind it? Jaleel White, the last friend to receive a voice note from Malcolm, did not stay silent. He stood up and spoke about the pressure black artists face, that they are not allowed to make mistakes to be sad or to appear weak. That speech wasn't broadcast on television, didn't have a glamorous backdrop, only candles, an empty chair, and Malcolm's favorite hat placed in the center of the room. But it left the entire space in silence. And then layers of memory resurfaced. Old friends recalled Malcolm playing guitar backstage, reading poetry during breaks, quietly helping younger actors without ever seeking credit. They spoke of a man always calm, always smiling, but who in truth was living through unnamed turmoil. A man who once wrote in his journal, "I'm screaming underwater, but still smiling at the world." A man who once dreamed of producing a series about mental health for black men, but never got the chance to start. No one else could do that for Malcolm. But after him, hundreds began telling their own stories. A movement called Remember the Person. Not just the character spread across social media. Led sitcom actors, supporting actors who appeared in just a few episodes, screenwriters pushed out of writers' rooms for being too honest, all began to speak out. Malcolm, once living in the shadow of old fame, has now become a symbol for a generation reclaiming the right to be real. Not just recognition for their talent, but the right to be vulnerable, to feel sorrow, to quietly step away from a role the world had imposed upon them. One young artist wrote, "I never met Malcolm, but because of him, I dared to stop smiling for the camera when my heart was breaking." A black director who had once been pressured to write comedy that sells shared that he had finally restarted a project delayed for 6 years, a short film about depressed black men. I don't know if it'll win any awards, but I know Malcolm would watch it. True legacy isn't found in roles or awards. It lies in what's passed on after death: understanding, empathy, and change. Malcolm Jamal Warner left behind a world that once stood silent in the face of an artist's pain, now listening more attentively, even if just a little. But sometimes, just a little is enough to save someone. And that is what Malcolm, through his very silence, managed to do. Malcolm Jamal Warner lived, created, and passed on as an artist who was never granted the right to rest. He was a symbol of a generation, but also a victim of that very title. In the end, what he needed wasn't praise, but to be heard, fully without interruption from canned laughter or someone else's memories. Now Malcolm's story is no longer just his own. It's a question for all of us. Do we truly see the person behind the role? Do we have the courage to look beyond nostalgia and accept the truth that even those who once made us laugh might be quietly sinking? If you believe the world needs more stories like this, honest aching and never forgotten, please follow the channel, share the video, and turn on notifications. We will continue telling the stories of those long trapped in memory, so they can finally be seen for the first time with real eyes.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and the truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.
Man, oh shoot, I was gonna turn the fan off because I'm a sound technician, but rest in peace, man. Rest in peace. I definitely wanted to see what my man, did I do that? I wanted to see what he had to say about this whole thing. It feel good out here, man. I'm in the Philippines. Oh man, we were supposed to be shooting I'm shooting a video for one of the songs, and we're supposed to go to the beach and shoot. I'm not planning on getting deep into the water, and there's gonna be plenty of people there, so we should be safe. The last time we was there, we actually saved somebody. Yeah, we actually saved somebody. So those are the type of things that happen in the Philippines. Man, y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.